Subpoint A, my opponent says that the Assad regime has a powerful foothold over the Middle East and will not change without intervention. My first argument is that the regime change would lead to even greater and more horrific violence and battles. Rachel Engel, Chief Foreign Correspondent, August 28, 2013. If the Syrian regime starts to collapse, the fighting could get very intense. Assad, in desperation, could use more chemical weapons. The regime could decide to fight to its last breath. We could enter a phase of battles more horrific than any yet seen in the Syrian war. Syria could break into regions, some controlled by Alawite loyals to the military and the Assad family, others controlled by Kurds, and still more run by Sunni rebel factions, including the Al-Qaeda-linked Islamic State, which is rapidly replacing the Nusra Front as the most powerful radical group in Syria. In subpoint B, they state that military intervention will open the door for regime change, but military intervention will not be effective in regime fall. Stephen Soons, professor of politics and coordinator of Middle East studies at the University of San Francisco, September 23, 2013. Western military intervention would simply play into the hands of the regime in Damascus, which has decades of experience in manipulating the Syrian people's strong sense of nationalism to its benefit. The regime can point out that the United States and Great Britain disingenuously used the promotion of democracy and fabricated claims of weapons of mass destruction to justify their illegal and disastrous invasion of its neighbor Iraq, which, like Syria, was a Ba'athist-led government, opposed to Western designs on the region. Indeed, Western intervention could unwittingly trigger greater mobilization by ordinary Syrians to resist foreign attackers. Hundreds of Syrians initially quit the Ba'ath Party and government positions in protest at the killings of nonviolent protesters. But few defections could be expected if Americans and Europeans attacked their country. Any hope of encouraging divisions within the leadership of the Ba'ath Party or the military would be dashed as they would quickly close ranks in the face of a foreign attacker. In subpoint C, they state that Syria's situation is causing tension in other countries. With or without Syria, the Middle East has always been turbulent. That's just the truth. This is not about Syria. This is a larger ethnic conflict. The Shia and Sunni struggle is one of the greater causes of the Syrian war. And subpoint D, they state that if the tension continues to spread, then it will destabilize the region. I would like to argue that attacking Syria would destabilize the region. Marie Maguire, Nobel Peace Literature, August 26, 2013. Arming rebels and authorizing military action by USA and NATO forces will not solve the problem facing Syria, but indeed could lead to the death of thousands of Syrians, the breaking up of Syria, and it falling under the control of violent fundamentalist jihadist forces. It will mean the further fleeing of Syrians into surrounding countries. It will mean the entire Middle East will become unstable and violence will spiral out of control. Contrary to some foreign governments' current policies of arming the rebels and pushing for military intervention, the people of Syria are calling out for peace and reconciliation and a political solution to the crisis, which continues to be inflamed by outside forces with thousands of foreign fighters funded and supported by outside countries for their own political ends. For their second part, their second contention, I would like to point out that my opponent fails to meet her burden of proof. She has no solvency for her for this problem, and I feel like the problem does not affect the U.S. directly. She never mentions any of U.S. interests. She only mentions the Middle East conflict, which has always been happening. It's always going to happen, and we don't need to get involved in it. I'm now open for cross-examination.
Who are the Alawites?
The Alawites are a racial minority in Syria which control the government.
Okay, who are the Shia?
The Shia are a different group between the Islamic factions, and they follow another leader, another heir of Muhammad.
So why are the Shia?
The Shiites and the Sunnis have been fighting for about 2,000 years, most likely, yeah.
All right.
Since Muhammad died, they've been fighting. So
Okay, so why are the Sunnis fighting the Alawites?
because the Alawites are actually a Shiite minority.
They're a Shiite minority.
Yeah.
Alright.
They're an ethnic minority under the Shiites, and they're supported by Shiite government.
Alright, thank you for clearing that up. You said, let me see, under the tagline, attacking Syria will destabilize the region. There's a certain point where you said the entire Middle East will become unstable and violence will spiral out of control. Isn't the Middle East already unstable?
Exactly. The Middle East is already unstable. So
Violence
why?
will spiral out of control. Isn't chemical weapons and what Assad has already been doing to his own people?
Chemical
already-
weapons already happen in Iraq. We can't stop them. The Middle East is already unstable. So if we put our foot forward to it,
Okay,
it will just
what is
it will spiral out of control.
How far is spiral out of control? Wouldn't it have already done it?
30 seconds, please.
Oh,
Oh,
how would it spiral out of control?
hasn't it already?
No,
No?
no.
So how far does it need to go for it to spiral out of control?
What about nuclear threats from Israel? Threats to bomb Israel from,
Nuclear threats from Israel?
yeah, if they are bombed. So it could lead to a nuclear war.
Time.